Mine is. You want mine?
Mine not. Oh, there we go. I think it must have already been on. Okay.
Is it on? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
You ready?
I'm ready.
You guys ready? Yep.
Dominic, you good?
All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. It's 4:45 on Monday, October 13th, and we are at the Arvin Education Center for our regularly scheduled board meeting. Ms. Harold, any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
Can I get a motion to approve? Made by Ms. Sheffer, seconded by Mr. Springer. All those in favor? And that's 4-0. If everyone could please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We're going to kick things off with our instructional session. Dr. Smith, welcome.
Do we have a clicker? All right. It is October, and in October we like to share all of our data for diagnostic testing in the fall of the school year. You're going to see me come back here in April or May, and show you the growth that we've made from fall to spring. But what this data set is going to also give us is the ability to look at multiple years of fall data, so we can see some changes over time, as well as summer slide, which is something we're always thinking about, students improving or declining in their performance from spring to fall. So first, we had a really robust data set. 99% of our students completed both the math and the reading assessment. That's about 7,700 students. We are also very proud of how few students were flagged of those 7,700 students as rushing through the test. 24 in math, 12, or 24 in reading, 12 in math. So we feel like this is a pretty good representation of our students and where they're starting the school year. When we look at these data, one thing to remember is that the dark green box means I'm at the middle or almost end of the school year that I am participating in. The light green box means I'm in the early to middle, and yellow means I haven't learned this content yet, but I'm ready to learn it. So that's, sometimes we see yellow and we think like a stoplight, like, uh-oh, warning, and this is actually just saying, I haven't had the chance to learn this yet, so I'm ready to learn it. We're going to start with math. So we like to compare both our national data as well as data in Kentucky compared to our school district. So looking up here, if we compare ourselves to the Commonwealth of Kentucky, about 18% of the students across the state come in at or above grade level. As a school district, we're pretty fortunate to start at about 38% of those students being at or above grade level. 48% are ready to start and learn the material that we're presenting. And then we have about 17% that are 1 or 2 years behind their peer group. Now, we also are breaking this data out 1 degree further, so we can see how our K-5 students are performing, as well as our 6-8 students. Our 6-8 students over the last 5 years have had, since COVID, have had a long time to learn and master the material that we're presenting to them, and you can see that they're starting their middle school years, almost 40% of them at or above the grade level that they are testing in. 36% are ready to begin, and then we have 21% that are 1 or 2 or more grade levels behind. We also like to look at this from fall to fall. So as a school district, what you'll notice from 23-24, 24-25, and then this year is that we have very, very consistent performance data. So you can see, with the exception of just that change from 23 to 24, which was a 2% increase in the number of students that were in the green, we're pretty consistent. And that is also true across K-5 data as well as 6-8 data. And this is all still in mathematics. We pay particular attention to different subgroups of students. Last year, our work with Cognia and our self-assessment told us that economically disadvantaged students, English learners, and student support and special education were the 3 groups that we're paying particularly close attention. We also look and track the performance of African American students. In our school district, currently enrolled, we have 207 of them, and you can see this broken out by overall Asian, African American, 2 or more races, white, and not reported. And what we realized, the not reported column is actually Hispanic or Latino. It's just a different question that we ask when we collect registration data. Are you Hispanic, Latino, yes or no? And so it presents to iReady as not reported through the syncing system that we have. So this is sort of the lay of the land for us in terms of our mathematical performance data starting at the beginning of this school year. English learners are one of those groups that we're focused on. You'll notice that the yes column for English learners across the system is only 292 students. So we're starting with a very small number of kids. When you look at them K-5 in mathematics, you can see the yes column right down the middle has just about 8% of the students that are at or above grade level, 49% ready, 31 2 years behind, 12% 3 years behind. In middle school, of the 63 students that are starting with us, and that means that I am designated an English learner because of my the testing that I've completed when I came into the county, you see we start at 75% of students that are 3 years or more behind. And that doesn't surprise us, but it is an urgent thing that we're focused on, and that lines up pretty well with what we learned from Cognia and our reaccreditation work. Student support in special education, you can see here 1,191 total kids. 18% of them are at or above grade level, 40% ready to begin, and then about 40% that are 2 or 3 years behind their peer group. Here's what those data look like when you break it out across elementary school versus middle school. This also is capped at 8th grade. This doesn't include high school students. All right. Now, the summer slide information is very interesting for math. So the column that you see, the chart at the very bottom with the parentheses, that is the national data on gains and losses. So in this first column for first graders, across the country over the summer, most first graders dropped 2 points in their performance level in math. Our students grew 1 point. I have no real good explanation as to why that is, except that the things that parents are doing with their kids over the summer is preparing them or at least maintaining their math knowledge. So if you look across here, we see a decline by 1 point, 1 point, 2, and then 3. Across the country, it's 5, 4, 5, and then 6. And then in middle school, there's a much bigger slide in math performance, especially in 6th grade. Across the country, most kids dropped 7 points in math. We dropped 4. 6th and 7th grade was 4, and then 5 and 8th grade, we dropped 2. Our reading data is really interesting because we're now in our second year of our K-5 HQIR, so our reading resource, and we are starting this year with our middle school data, or our middle school resource. We piloted the 2 resources last year. We worked on 2 different modules, and now those 6th to 8th grade students are using StudySync this year as their HQIR in middle school. So here we are across the country. You can see first in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, we start as a state with about 30% of students that are at or above grade level with 39 ready to go, and then 14 and 16. For us, our reading data comes in much higher than both the state and the nation. So you can see here that we're at approximately 47% that are a year or 2 above their grade level, 35% ready, and then 19 that are 2 or more behind. And this is what that looks like, K-5 versus 6-8. And so if you're just looking at the 6-8 column, we start the year with 50% of students at or above their grade level in reading, which is a great place to begin. This is what it looks like fall to fall. Again, same thing. You see very consistent data to begin the year. But if you break that out from K-5 to 6-8, this is what it looks like. So our middle school students start 6th grade and continue really ready to go in our language arts classes. Here's what the data looks like broken out by different racial groups, with Asian students being the highest performing, but it's only a total set of 180 students. African Americans 206, and then you can see Hispanic Latino at the very end at 704. Here's what it looks like for English learners. It will not surprise anyone that it is very hard to learn English when you're in middle school. And so you can see 89% of kids are 2 or 3 years behind. It would be very challenging to step into that spot. So this is a group that we're really focused on. And here for special education, this is our whole system, and then this is what it looks like both K-5 and 6-8 for student support and special education. Summer slide, we have sort of the opposite thing happening for us in reading. So if you're a first grader, across the country, most students stay flat. Our students tend to grow we grew 6 points this last year. Second grade, across the country, you declined by 1, we grew by 6. And then we maintained in third and fourth, and we grew by 2 in fifth. And then in middle school, you can see we just had some very slight adjustments. That is the state of the state right now for our reading and math data according to iReady. Do you have any questions on anything we've talked about tonight?
I have a question.
Sure.
How does the at or above grade level correlate with the percentage that the student gets? So if they say they get 90th percentile for reading or math,
Yeah.
how does that correlate to if they're on grade level or above grade level?
So the average student would be in the 50th percentile. So think of it like a bell curve. If you're right down the middle for your grade level, you'd be in the 50th. If you're in the 90th, you're going to be on the far end of that curve. So
Okay.
a student, the higher that number is, the further you are to the right, or the further into the green that you are on these charts.
But if you have a high number there, you would still be considered probably on grade level? Is that how that
You're
works?
at least, if you're in the 90th percentile, you are in the right grade, and you're outperforming. If we were to line up 100 children right here, if you're in the 90th percentile, you're ahead of 90 of those 100 kids.
Right.
So yes, you are on, or honestly, the way that iReady thinks about it is, if I had never learned this material before, where would I compare to other kids in this grade? If I'm in the 90th percentile, I would be probably in the middle of the year, or maybe even a little bit further than that.
Okay, but those could vary. You may have
Sure.
an approaching grade level and
Sure.
still have be in
Yeah.
a high percentile.
It's possible. I think the other thing we try to remember is that this is a single data point on one day. So some of the kids in red might have had a bad day testing. We also always, in the teaching and learning team, we always try to triangulate our data. So iReady is a data point. Our KSA data, which we'll talk about a month from now, that'll be a data point. And then we'll have other grades, attendance, your GPA, all of that information. So we try to get a full picture of a student and not just depend on one single data point.
When that document goes home to parents, is there any kind of explanation that's given or, I know sometimes when I get it, I think I need a refresher from Dylan, but.
So the one thing that might be confusing sometimes for parents is it'll have a dotted line that'll say, here's the goal we set for your child to reach. And sometimes, and I'll think of my own kids, sometimes they've exceeded the goal and sometimes they've fallen short of it. So then I think, what happened? Is everything okay? And what I try to remember is that a computer is taking a baseline and saying, whatever your starting place is, you should grow about 24 or 25 scale score points. That would be the natural progression. In the spring, you'll see a grade by grade, you might remember this from last year, where it's different shades of blue. The darker the blue means you've had 100% of your growth goals or more. What we had happen last spring with our middle school data, I think our students responded really well to the HQIR pilot, was almost every single level at every grade, the kids exceeded their growth goals. And so for us, that was a huge celebration. That meant that we pushed them appropriately, and they demonstrated that they could grow as much as the iReady platform thought. iReady also creates something called a stretch goal, and that's more for the kids in the light or dark red, which means if you're 2 years behind, in order to catch up, so we don't just watch you stay 2 years behind, you need to reach your stretch goal. And we have, and I'll show you those data in the spring, but we have many, many, many students that work really hard and then reach that growth goal as well. For parents, each of our schools approaches how they send that information home a little differently. iReady tries to give you some language to explain what you're looking at, but you really have to read it and then decide, like, what does this mean for me? I would say, I'll just use myself. When I'm looking at my students' performance, my first question to them is, did you try hard on this test? So if you came in at the 75th percentile and that was you trying your very best, then that's all I can ask of you. If you had a bad day testing, or if you went to school and I knew you weren't feeling really well and it was off, we don't retest. So we just let this be a baseline, and then we track your growth over the school year. So if you came back and had you're in the 30th percentile, that's not great, but that doesn't define you as a student. That's just how you did on that day taking that test, just like KSA. Although I think, depending on the level, I think kids put a lot of intensity into KSA, and then at some point there's a tipping point when they say, do these tests apply to me anymore? I'm going to college. I'm already accepted to UK, and then we want to encourage them to, what we saw happen last year is super high performance on ACT or taking different tests in science, but then we didn't try that hard on KSA. And so it's like, you're a novice on science, but you got a 35 on the ACT. Like, how'd that happen? And the students say, I say, I don't know. I can't, just a tough day testing. Any other questions on any of this?
I have
Please.
two things related to the English language learners.
Yeah.
The forms that go out to parents of English language learner
Yeah.
students are likely going to be first generation. Do those go out in their respective languages? Okay,
We do.
awesome. That's great.
Yeah,
then-
and in fact, we enroll students that are newcomers over the summer as a rolling process, and we try to have someone who speaks their native language there also to help guide them through. Then when we do access testing, we get a sense of where they fall in the spectrum of how much English they understand. But we have a lot of kids who we have almost more than 40 languages spoken in our school district, so not everyone that is in that category is an English speaker. That is a Spanish speaker. When I was talking with Mark Robson, he told us that one of the largest demographic groups that's growing for us are Asian kids coming from India who have the last name Patel. And that is a large English language learner group that is growing just in our county.
Okay.
So, but we communicate with them in their native language. We also, and we just were doing instructional rounds, we have students that are using devices in class that allow them to take what the teacher is saying and have it translated into their native language. I watched a group, this child moved here from Japan. He had a tablet and he spoke Japanese into the tablet and it translated it to English, and he could participate with his group. And the kids could talk into it and it translated it to Japanese, so he was able to engage with this was a third grade classroom, they're writing sentences on chart paper, but he was able to participate also. So we're trying to be really sensitive to that.
Got it. Second part of that
Yeah.
is what volunteer opportunities could be available for folks to come in and just read with students? So, for example, I used to work closely with an organization that worked with refugees, and a program that they offered was just reading. And so they would sit down with people just practicing reading in English. Do any of those like volunteer opportunities, could they exist at any school? Or there might be other sensitivities there, but could that in theory happen?
It is always, not everything is possible.
Yeah.
I think where I have seen programs like that work most successfully is usually in partnership with something like the public library, where the kids go to the library and then the volunteers meet them at the library and work with them. It gets more complicated when we try to find time in the school day to do that, because our time is so carefully scripted, especially in elementary school. So it gets a little harder. But if we had a group of parents, and I have done that kind of work also. I was a homework helper once, working with refugee children, and I just helped them translate. Their parents didn't speak English. I just helped them make sense of what their teacher wanted them to do for homework, for their homework assignments, and I found that very valuable, very satisfying and very rewarding. So we don't have that program set up now, but that's something that we
Yeah.
could look into, because I do
Well,
think that
no.
there are a lot of people that would like to
No,
participate.
the best place, I can understand the point about the public library aspect. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an easy, common place to go, and then that let us deepen that partnership with the library when I did that work.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right, very good.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Appreciate you. Next, we're going to move on to the treasurer's report.
Ms. Alexander could not be here this evening, so she submitted, if you look in our e-meeting, there are 11 documents in there. Just some quick notes about the treasurer's report. Report number 1 is going to give us the comprehensive overview of our cash accounts across all the funds. It also has a detailed breakdown of our bonded construction funds and then our investment account, and that's in report 1. Report 2 is going to give us some additional details of our analysis of cash totals for all of the funds. Report 3 is going to be the historical actual comparison report. It's going to look at our current year's financial performance against previous years, and then it's going to tell us that there's a strong financial performance with effective tracking and then consistent fiscal management. And then in the rest of the packet is going to be historical actual reports with our standard balance sheet and then our income statement for us to review.
Any questions? Can I get a motion to approve? Made by Ms. Sheffer, seconded by Mr. Cedillo. All those in favor? That's 4-0. We need to approve a couple of meeting minutes here. The first one being our regularly scheduled board meeting from September 22nd. Can I get a motion to approve? Made by Ms. Sheffer, seconded by Mr. Cedillo. All those in favor? And that's 4-0. And then our special called meeting from October 8th. Can I get a motion to approve? Made by Ms. Sheffer, seconded by Mr. Springer. All those in favor? And that's 4-0. Next up is personnel actions.
And you'll just see that attachment again in your document for you to look at actions that have taken place up until now.
So we'll take those under advisement. And then moving right along to consent items. Any questions on consent items? Can I get a motion to approve those? Made by Mr. Cedillo, seconded by Ms. Sheffer. All those in favor? And that's 4-0. And superintendent reports.
First item, it's not an attachment, but I just want to give a quick update. We were honored to have the Commissioner of Education here last week. We sent out an email to our building level leaders to see if they were interested in having the commissioner come in. Everybody had something to spotlight that they wanted us to see, which is amazing. But we spent time at the elementary, middle, and high level and was able really to spend a lot of quality time with the commissioner. He was extremely impressed with everything he was able to be a part of. And he has sent messages since then. And shout out to LaGrange Elementary. He wanted some additional details, and we're able to produce the article that was written about the reading program that they're doing there. So a lot of great things coming from that official visit last week. Documentation including in my presentation is just a procedure form for a policy that we already have. That's educational enhancement procedure form that we just need to attach with that policy. And then the second item will be a facilities update, and that item is attached, and Mr. Bohannon is here.
Good evening.
Hi.
It's been a minute since we've had a construction update. We've had quite a bit going on, though, as you can see. Currently, we have $152 million in various stages of construction, and another 38, almost 39 million in various stages of design. Some of those projects include the district-wide landscape site improvement package A that took place at Centerfield Elementary School. We reached substantial completion on that project back in August before students returned, but we still got a little bit of work to do out there as far as gates and signage goes. The digital signs have been approved. We're just waiting on the manufacturer for the installation of those. The next bid package for that will be Goshen. Will be the next standalone school, and then shortly after that, East Campus will have that hit the streets for similar types of improvements. Each of those projects will have a lot of similarities to them as far as the signage and wayfinding goes, but each of them also will have individual things that we're correcting on the site or things that we're improving as well as we go on that. Could skip forward a couple here. There's some updated pictures from some of the athletic improvements that we've been working on recently. And then the South Oldham High School major addition renovation project. We have our groundbreaking ceremony for that tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We've had our pre-construction meetings and just met this morning again with the demolition contractors to get them underway. So it's a significant progress there, and we should start to see a lot of things happening around that campus in very short order. And if you haven't been invited, you're welcome to join us at 1 o'clock tomorrow. The bus garage and administrative annex roof replacement. We've started the work on that project. Basically, the safety netting and installation on the interior portions of that are complete in the transportation building and underway this week in the warehouse and on the annex side parking lot. with the roof installation to follow shortly behind in November. And then the anticipated substantial completion for that is January. The site accessibility at various elementary schools project, as you can see in your pictures there, we've reached substantial completion at Goshen Elementary for this phase. That play area and playground have been turned over for their use as of just last week. And
Thank you for that, for the fall festival.
yeah, we
Yeah, no.
basically kicked them off for the fall festival. So they got to come back and do a couple of little things, but they're in good shape over there. And the progress at Harmony, the playground equipment installation has begun there. And just forward you a nice email I got from staff at Harmony showing the third graders lined up at the window each
good.
morning watching the installation take place. Centerfield, the Ninja course, what I call it, was turned over to school for use in September, and that was a big hit, and I was appreciative of Centerfield for inviting us back to watch their inaugural running of that course. Buckner High School and Oldham County High School improvements, the foundation and retaining walls are in progress. Soil stabilization has been completed on the upper level. Underground plumbing is in progress. Geothermal wells continue. Site stormage drainage is in progress. That's probably about 80 or 90% complete as it comes around the edge of the building there. As you probably saw on your way in today, they're starting to stage for the new sanitary sewer lines that will cross over Colonel's Drive. We're trying to time that so that we can get most of that work done right over fall break when there's a lot less vehicle traffic. And then I also have listed on there kind of where we are with closing out a bunch of the previous projects and smaller projects. If you all have any questions about those, we can go through them, but otherwise, that's where we currently are with construction.
You mentioned the signage for Centerfield, Goshen, and East. Is that right?
Yep.
What's the plan for the other sites?
So as soon as we're going to get Centerfield signs installed first and make sure that those all work out the way that we anticipated for them. And then once we get the contractor is currently working out there at Goshen, completely off-site and out of the way, we'll start with that one. And then the campus one will be east so that we can work through some of the designs that we're doing that will be applied to those schools. So once we've done Goshen and east, then we'll have pretty much our baseline to turn them loose on the rest of the campuses. We will be bidding those at one site each, one site, one project. So if it's a campus, then it'll be one site, one contract for the entire campus, so that we have continuity through that process. But we are not doing a district-wide construction process with those. We're going to do them one at a time, so that it opens up the door for a lot of smaller contractors in the area and region to be able to be competitive in that bidding process as well. And that way we're not waiting on one to get complete before we start on the other. We can go ahead and keep pushing them out to bid and turn them loose as we see fit.
Sure. What's the timeline for Centerfield, since that's the first one?
Centerfield's pretty much complete except for the signs. So we should get the signs here in the next week or so.
Okay, so the signs are coming soon.
Yeah, the shop drawings were returned and approved, I think, at the end of August. And they had about I don't want to say a 6-7 week lead time on those signs. So that's really all that's left to be out there. There's a gate to be installed, the signs to be installed. They've already got their banners up in the parking lot. And there may be one or two more little things I'm not thinking of right now, but they're pretty much, they're in good shape out there.
And Goshen and East by the end of this year, or?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to just go from one right to the
Awesome.
next.
Okay, cool. Perfect.
And you said playgrounds, so Centerfield's about done. Going down the list, different phases, so Centerfield's the closest being done.
Yeah, it's a good question. So the
Like if you were to put them in the 9 elementaries in order, like are they obviously on different stages?
yeah, so actually the Goshen, the project that we were just talking about there, will pick up the next round of playground upgrades on that. So that'll be one package there. So it's kind of split into multiple projects now as we go one at a time. Instead of doing, like I said, countywide, we're going to hit them with the next available construction there. So we'll have Goshen, Locust Grove, and East will be as part of that the landscape and site improvements project. So those will be coming along after that. And then with your all's approval last month, we've assigned the architect to do the remaining ones as well. So,
And then I noticed, I was just happened to be volunteering for the cross-country meet, and I saw the Buckner's facility back there. Was that recently done? Because I hadn't been back there, and I was like, wow.
It's so
yeah.
nice.
So Buckner's
Yeah.
been through 3 playground renovations already. Just
Okay.
the way it timed out with their construction, when we added the addition on there, we did one round. When we did the preschool, we kind of did we had to shift and move some things around, and then their portion of the playground also. There's a couple more things that we still need to tie up over there, specifically in the preschool area, and then a thing or two that want to kind of redesign, rethink underneath the trees there. So we're going to correct some things there. But so Buckner's pretty much tied up except for a few corrective things.
Okay, yeah, I saw that.
Yes.
Like the soccer field, kind of like the little mini soccer area, which was really
Sure.
cool.
Yep. That's
As far as
the
the drainage going in next week,
Right.
you said under Colonel's Way.
Yeah, so it crosses twice. It
Yeah.
crosses at the baseball field, or between the baseball field and the tennis courts, and then it crosses on the road that leads up to the field house to hit that manhole in the center there. So they're going to try to time that so that we're only disrupting one at a time, and then, like I said, try to get that done and covered up, at least steel plated before we get back from fall break.
Got it. And yeah, well, just thinking through like, I think next week, next Friday, home game, and you can. I'm
Oh,
sure
yeah,
all routes and
they
all
have
that'll be-
our schedule
Yeah, okay,
for
okay.
for all of on-campus activities, and we're kind of threading the needles best we can with
No,
it.
no, yeah.
Yeah, so
understood.
there may be, a portion of it where where we have gravel, infill with gravel until we get it paved, something like that. But they're bringing out plates so that anytime that we need to, like stop work on a Friday evening, for example, we can put plates over it and go on with our business, and then they can start back up the next day.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Are we ready for student? Okay, next up, we have Goshen Elementary for Student Showcase. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Good evening, board members and fellow educators. Tonight, I'm proud to introduce a student showcase that represents the heart of what we believe in education should be at Goshen Elementary: innovative, collaborative, and inclusive. What makes this project exceptional is its scope. Every single student in our building, from kindergarten through 5th grade, has contributed to this learning experience. Through the vision and collaboration of our Related Arts team, Ms. Conniff, Ms. Lyles, and Ms. Yan, our students are discovering how creativity, engineering, and the arts work together to bring an idea to life. Our students will now share their learning journey with you. Please welcome them.
Tonight we are excited to share with you how our 4th and 5th graders have experienced every part of making the Lion King musical, from engineering scenery and costumes to learning drama and musical elements. This production was possible through a unique collaboration of our art, drama, music, and STEM programs.
Inspired by The Lion King on Broadway and Joy Tamer with 3D costume and puppetry designs, our Related Arts team began imagining how to bring this magic to the elementary school level.
It all began in Related Arts with our 3rd through 5th graders exploring the Lion King story about reading the script, acting as characters, and listening to the music. In drama, we learned about blocking, stage directions, characterization, and voice projections. For example, we studied how Mufasa's royal presence contrasts with Scar's anger and how vocal and facial expressions bring these emotions to life. All 3rd to 5th graders experienced this, and any 4th or 5th grader passionate about theater was encouraged to audition for parts in the musical. 84 students auditioned for 36 roles.
In art, 4th and 5th graders are creating animal masks to be used in the musical or as displayed. We've learned about symmetry, the geometric elements of African masks, and color designs for stage production. Kindergarten through 3rd graders will help create scenery pieces and props, learning about paper sculpture and set designs like elements and colors.
Songs are a key part of a musical, helping tell a character's feelings or emotions. We're learning singing in ensembles, multiple part groups, and harmonies. We also learned terminology and musical symbols to follow our parts. Most African languages include call and response, which adding a wonderful challenge.
To master this, we first practiced pronouncing the Swahili lyrics before adding melody. We learned that alphabets and letters sound are different between languages. Some letters voiced in English are unvoiced in other language. Here's an example of us singing Swahili. During performances, we use only 1 or 2 stationary microphones so students practice and develop strong vocal projection.
In STEM, we combine science, engineering, and art to create amazing movable pieces for the musical. We started by exploring simple machines like levers, pulleys, and wheels and axles to understand how to move things with less effort. Using the engineering design process, brainstorming, building, testing, and improving, we design background scenery that actually moves.
Some of us are building set pieces for the stage, while others create small automata. Many animal sculptures that move using simple machines. Whether big or small, the same design ideas apply. We build and engineer in the SimLab and add painting artistic details in the art studio. It's creativity and engineering working hand in hand to make something truly special.
Mason.
Inspired by this experience at school, we decided to create our own version at home. My sister Tessa, Harper, Finley, and I thought about making costumes and planning lighting for our mini production.
Our audience was the Sailor family, and we found the Lion King music on Apple Music.
Being in chorus helped inspire this too. We thought it would be a fun way to practice the music.
We learned that putting on a stage production takes a lot of work and coordination, so we're very thankful to Miss Yan, Miss Sliles, and Miss Conniff for their effort in bringing the Lion King musical to life.
Bringing together the choral ensemble, drama and STEM features will be the real test of our learning.
We invite you to attend to our school production in December to see this magic in motion.
Thank you to our student presenters for sharing their experience so thoughtfully. The project exemplifies the kind of education our students need for their futures, learning how different subjects intersect to create something none of them could accomplish alone. I want to recognize our Related Arts team for reimagining what integrated learning can look like and for creating an experience where every child is an essential contributor. Board members and Superintendent Harold, you are cordially invited to attend our production on Wednesday, December 17th at 6:30 in our cafeteria to see the culmination of this remarkable learning journey. Thank you to your continued support of the innovative programming at Goshen Elementary, and thank you for allowing our students to share their voices tonight. If we could have a round of applause for our students. And two of our teachers are also present tonight, so thank you to Ms. Deanne and Ms. Lyles as well.
Great job to you guys. We'd love to come watch.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Next up, we'll move on to recognitions.
We have several recognitions tonight, so be patient as we go through these. The first will be our Ignite Passion Award, and you want me to? Thanks. The first recognition we're going to have tonight is from our Ignite Passion Award. This award recognizes individuals or groups that have demonstrated exceptional commitment and efforts in fostering passion and enthusiasm within Oldham County Schools. Goshen Elementary's Ignite Passion Award winner is Mandy Morris, instructional coach. Is Mandy in here?
I think she just, yeah.
Is she coming back? She should follow you. So Miss Mandy Morris, since joining Goshen Elementary last year, has been a spark for positive change throughout the school. Her meticulous approach to instructional support includes weekly meetings with every PLC team, where she guides teachers through comprehensive analysis of student assessment data, curriculum alignment, high-quality instructional resources, unit internalization, and iReady universal screener data to establish flexible instructional groups and identify prerequisite skills. Ms. Morris stands out for her remarkable ability to anticipate needs before anybody even mentions them. Her wholehearted dedication to also fulfilling them. She designs thoughtful, goal-oriented coaching cycles differentiated to each teacher's individual needs, providing intentional instructional strategies that empower educators across all of her grade levels. This personalized approach made her a profound impact. Our spring Studer data revealed overwhelmingly positive feedback from staff, with teachers expressing gratitude for her exceptional level of support, extensive knowledge, and invaluable guidance. Ms. Morris has been a pivotal member of Goshen's leadership team and eager to help transitions for Ms. Burka. She has been instrumental in bridging where Goshen has been with where they aspire to be, helping align goals, vision, and mission. Her expertise and collaborative spirit have guided Goshen in the right direction, ensuring that every student experiences a learning environment where they feel safe, valued, and loved. She doesn't simply achieve, she ignites passion in others, transforms the educational atmosphere, and elevates the entire school community. So Goshen's Ignite a Passion Award goes to Miss Mandy Morris. Our second award winners tonight come from South Odom Middle School. South Odom Middle School is proud to recognize Glenn and Monique McFarland for their outstanding service to the school. They are dedicated, hardworking individuals who continually look for ways to support and enhance the experience of South Odom Middle School student athletes. Glenn and Monique have deeply involved in every aspect of South Odom Middle School athletics. They've made significant improvements to programs and facilities, including upgrading the gym sound system, purchasing new uniforms for several teams, and adding new backdrops and signage to create more professional and a welcoming gym environment. They go above and beyond to create a true game day experience for South Odom Middle School students, families, and community, organizing food vendors for football games and running top-notch concessions at volleyball and basketball. Their organization, initiative, and positive relationships with parents help ensure that every event runs smoothly and reflects immense pride of South Odom Middle School athletics. South Odom Middle is incredibly grateful for their commitment, leadership, and many ways they continue to serve the school. Congratulations to these team members of our district. Are they here, by the way? Get them up here. I should have known you're wearing green. This one's a little bit different. We have our National Merit semifinalist, hopefully in attendance tonight. Each year, the National Merit Scholarship Corporation honors students across the nation whose scores are the highest in the PSAT, NMSQT test taken in the fall of their junior year. This year, 8 students from Oldham County Schools have been named as National Merit semifinalists. Approximately 1/3 of the national high scorers on the PSAT, NMSQT, are notified that they have qualified as semifinalists. The semifinalists advance to a finalist standing in the scholarship competition by meeting high academic standards, as well as demonstrating community involvement, strong work ethic, and extracurricular pursuits. Additionally, the student must be recommended by a high school official, write an essay, and earn SAT scores that align with the earlier performance on the qualifying test. The finalists will be announced in the spring, but tonight we want to go ahead and honor all 8 of our semifinalists. We have from Oldham County High School, Mitchell Markham, who attends Gatton Academy. And when I call your name, if you come up and stay up here, we will do one picture at the end. South Oldham High School, we have Owen Wells and Kara Lockley. I just got to hear Miss Kara speak last Friday at South Oldham Rotary, and she's an amazing speaker with a bright future. North Oldham High School, we have Samuel Guervich, and if I butcher, slaughter, I'm so sorry. I need to give that disclaimer. Alexandra Kachalova, Camden Killian, Oliver Tang, and Kathleen Zhao. That's it? Okay. Congratulations. Last but not least, October is National Principals Month. Each October, we recognize our principals who are an essential role that they play in making our schools excellent. Principals set the academic tone for schools. It's their vision, dedication, and determination that provide the mobilizing force for achieving student success. Our principals are the bedrock of our educational community. They are not only administrators, but mentors, advocates, and champions for our educational mission. They work tirelessly to create a positive school culture and bring our community together. During National Principals Month, we ask that our entire community join us in having appreciation for the dedication and hard work of our principals. We are grateful for their unwavering commitment to our students' well-being and academic achievement. Principals in the back, please stand to be recognized. Thank you all very much.
All right, we are going to move on to public expression.
Each regular meeting shall include a public comment period of at least 15 minutes. Any board rules and policies regarding conduct during school board meetings shall apply during the public comment period. The chairperson may require the name and address of the speaker. The chairperson may rule on the relevance of the topic to the board's agenda. The chairperson may also establish time limits for speakers as may be required to maintain order and to ensure the expedient conduct of the board's business. The board as a whole shall have the final decision as to the appropriateness of all rulings.
You guys good with 4 minutes tonight?
Sounds good.
Okay, we have 3 speakers. The first one is Michael Hart. Welcome. Come on up to the podium.
Adjust the mic like everyone. Reason I'm here today, first off, Oldham County taxpayer, South Oldham graduate, and current North Oldham Middle School wrestling coach. Reason why I'm here, and it's a topic that was presented probably 10, 12 years ago, and never crossed the finish line, so I'm back here to, what I would like to do is have time, or pretty much the whole point of me coming here today was to have time at your all's meeting next month to kind of provide a formal presentation of our need at North Oldham. So as North Oldham Middle School wrestling coach, I've got 50 kids, right at, I think we're about 48 kids with the middle school. The high school's got roughly about 40 kids. We are practicing in a cafeteria. South Oldham has got a dedicated wrestling room. Oldham County has a dedicated wrestling room, along with the super gym. I jokingly asked Coach Ritter, and they're very close friends of mine, if we could use their space, they could lease it out, so we had a dedicated facility. But it's becoming to the point where we're never going to get to what these kids deserve, what the parents want for the development of in our current situation. We're beyond outgrowing 50 kids in a cafeteria at one time it's problematic, and it is something that we deserve the same attention that South gets and Oldham County gets to a dedicated room. And like I said, what I plan on putting forth is the same proposal that we put forth, I think it was 8 or 9 years ago, to the board to get that space. We can be very reasonable with costs. We're very cognizant of that. I'm a banker anyway. It's my wheelhouse, but to kind of keep us on a level playing field as Oldham County and South, and they are all, like I said, close friends of mine, where they would, to be honest with you, if I ask them to come and support me next meeting, they'll be here to do that. But that is my need. So, and ask. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Next up is Olivia Tipton. Welcome.
Hello. All right. I'm very nervous, so bear with me.
You're good.
Okay, So I once again wrote this speech while I was sitting in the audience. So hopefully I can pull this together. So at this point in my journey, I am a bit hopeless. I'm a bit heartbroken, and I'm heartbroken for all of the children that the district's actions have taken on not only my child, but all the other students that this has impacted. I came before the board in May of this year to address my daughter's protected information being shared by the board. I was given a very public response from Mr. Radford the day and a promise to personally follow up the following day. The follow-up did not happen from Dr. Radford directly, nor did I receive a response from him at all. I received a very, very short email from the district attorney almost a week following, which, not to paraphrase, but it kind of said, "Sorry about your luck, we've redacted it, so good day." I then had to follow up to find out what the follow-up would be, and then I was told that my daughter would get a new student ID number. Now, she got a new student ID number, so what if I told you guys that when my daughter returned to school this fall, my daughter had none of her programs set up. None of her stuff worked, she couldn't check out books, and nobody did anything about it. Without trying to violate my daughter's privacy even more on this, she does have a diagnosis, and that was extremely impactful to her. I've got a history of trying to address things with the school board, the school board and the school district, and have been aggressively ignored. So I wasn't sure what to do. It wasn't until I went to her clinical psychologist and explained what was going on, and he had told me that this was in fact cruel for her to be going through this. And as part of her journey, she has been going through exposure exercises to help her navigate some of these things. He said that if he actually dedicated time to create the most wholesome or like all-encompassing exposure exercise, he does not think that he could have come up with something as impactful for her personally. He told me that it was unethical for him to even put her in this situation, nor should I allow her to return to school prior to this being fixed. You see, that's part of my stress with all of this, is that it seems, as I've said in other bodies as well, that if everybody doesn't find this to be valid, it doesn't exist. Therefore, if someone else doesn't think that this is a problem for her, they ignore it. So, going all the way back, when I first brought this up, I brought this up in the SPDM council at the local school. I was told that they were backed by the law in the decisions that they made. As I've posted, I've kind of addressed this. Not only were they in violation of open meetings, and the school district has responded, the attorney has responded to acknowledge that all, I think, like 160 violations I sent in were in fact founded in that. But also I kind of want to address the outcome of the schedule that got changed that I was trying to contest. Not only does my daughter's personal scores support that this was negatively impactful, but I also have been addressing how this could impact all students with disabilities in there, just due to mere logistics of the outcome. So today at the Buckner SBDM Council, they had submitted the iReady data. So I just did a quick evaluation, so don't quote me on exactly from this, but from fall of 2025 to fall school year 2026, students performing at mid or above grade level, this is for the grade that she was in, I should specify this, that students performing in mid or above grade level dropped by 20%, likely shifting to early on grade level, which increased by 30%. Meanwhile, the students that were one grade below declined. Basically, I'm trying to say that given the students, hold on, sorry. These statistics, I'm happy to share them. More or less, all of their statistics declined. So where we had good statistics, they all decreased, and their bad statistics increased substantially. Now, one of my biggest sticking points is I have been very, very upfront with the district, and I've even said that I have had a student or a teacher that in an official public meeting said, I want to quote it, when I was addressing students that were being impacted by this, she said, if you wanted to do a percentage of the kids on what that impacts, it's less than 5% of students. So when I was pointing out that this was discriminatory, the response was, well, It's less than 5%, so no big deal, right? So I have reported this. I've told the principal multiple times, and this is recorded. So I have these. The principal, I have made multiple efforts to have him listen to this recording. He does not care. I've offered it, and again, I have recordings of me offering this. He does not care. So I beg of you guys, I know you guys have likely seen my post. I've seen all of the members, maybe with the exception of Adam, active on the LifeWise post, but yet it's crickets on mine. My plea to you guys today is to consider that it's not a matter of only 5%. 5% is way too big for this district not to care about. And so I implore you guys to start taking this seriously because the data supports that this is a problem.
I will, sorry, I'm my timer. The student ID part, that was corrected though, right? Very
Like I just
quickly.
went back and looked at
copied on-
emails.
But by the time I reached out to you, it had already been going on for days.
I mean, I'm happy to talk to you offline. I've
Yeah.
given
Sure.
you my cell phone number. I've
Yeah.
talked to you on the phone.
Because the last correspondence we have is from 8/20.
Correct. So the problem is every time I email, I get ignored. And again, there's hundreds of emails for this. In fact, I was told I'd get a call back from you, Ms. Clem, in February, and that didn't take place.
Well, that was because I had spent quite a bit of time on the phone with you, and I couldn't determine exactly what I could do to help you, unfortunately. But about the student ID, I do know that was remedied very quickly.
I feel
I
like
was
we're getting
copied on all
lost
of
in the
that.
weeds. This happened in May. My child returned in August, and it wasn't fixed. Plain and simple. Like, how many months would be reasonable to get that set up, particularly when it was due to the negligence of the district?
I understand, but we had a change in leadership, and she addressed that like that.
Okay, so everything else still stands though, and again, nobody did anything until I emailed. So,
What would help you?
well, we've got to start addressing some of this. We're violating students' civil rights left and right. I mean, I've got,
Because of the rotating schedule.
well, that was part of it, yes, but there's several other things because in the recurrent refusal to really hear me, I've now uncovered so many things. Honestly, it's lengthy. Like, there's a lot of things that are not happening on a regular basis. And again, the iReady data supports this too, that what I'm saying, I'm not making this up. The iReady data supports what I'm saying. So
I think if we could get a clear bullet point of what you are needing,
We could
that
try
would
to
be
help,
really
yeah.
helpful because
okay.
I think the confusion lies in we truly are trying to seek to understand, but even talking to you right now, I'm not understanding what you are needing or what would best help your student. So we're more than willing to listen, but we need clear, concise pieces of information from you on what we can do to help you.
Okay, what we could use, like, okay,
We'll
I mean,
we'll have to take it offline. I don't want to.
I agree. I just want to make sure that it's not, like, this has been very clearly communicated, so I just want to make sure that it's not being flipped because, I mean, I'm a year later from when I first notified everybody of this, and to be honest, I've outlined all of this very clearly with what's going on. So I understand it's a lot, but there is a lot there. That's part of the problem. So I think that's one of those things that I encourage you guys to also seek understanding because actually, if I recall, after our last conversation, you basically said that Dr. Radford said that I was kind of a pain in the butt parent and I was offered to change schools.
I
which,
absolutely never said that Dr. Radford said that.
But
But I do know you were offered to change schools. I do know that was that to a schedule that might have been more beneficial.
right,
correct?
which we can address this off, but
Sure.
again, I just would appreciate it if someone, because again, like the facts are, change of leadership regardless, this still happened to my child
I
and
understand.
it wasn't addressed, so,
I understand.
yep.
I do just want to clarify before you walk away, going back to look at the student ID number, I understand that issue happened last year. You actually reported that to us on the 19th, and then we did have conversation with the 20th it being resolved.
Correct. So
Okay.
I appreciate your response, which I greatly do appreciate, which that next day it actually didn't get corrected, but it did get corrected the following day. So it was 2 days, but the whole point is that it had already been happening for days. And again, here is where, like, you have to keep reporting to do this. And again, I have extensive response, and the retaliation from the district's been pretty horrific as well. So I actually do not like doing these things because almost always something bad happens. The fact that her information got released in the first place, if you look at the grounds surrounding that, it's pretty bad.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Anderson? Hello, how are you? I am good.
And you don't even need to set the timer for me on this one. I'll be very, very brief. I just had a couple of questions. First off, while I was chatting with several of my colleagues, the front page, Grant, we're reading your paper, of the newspaper came up, and the $300,000 settlement that was agreed to by the board. And the biggest question that everybody kind of threw out there to each other was, where does that money come from? Is it coming from reserves or insurance, or it's through insurance?
Not insurance.
Okay, perfect, because that's, again, unfortunately, you missed that one, Grant. The other thing is,
So in short, it's not costing.
We're not, yeah.
It's
not
part of
coming
the
from our
insurance
fund.
payout, I believe.
Correct.
although if you have repeated insurance claims, I'm
They'll-
sure your insurance
they'll
will
go
go
up.
up.
Well,
So ultimately, it could
unfortunate.
affect the taxpayers. The other thing is, and I've kind of addressed it a couple of times, and I think it kind of got lost a couple of meetings ago, there was a lot of other topics going on. I'm not sure what that was all
Just
about.
a few.
Yeah. But my request was, will we post, and it has been a past precedent, the increase in revenue. I know, Carly, you and I
I
have.
sent you an email about that, right?
But I'm looking for it publicly, not just for a conversation between you and I, but
Sure.
traditionally, it's in the Old Emera, with, an ad in there. It says, here's the property valuations from past year to this year, here's the revenue increase. I know we've said that even though the tax rate's flat, the revenue's going up by 3.7%, which, okay, it's below the 4%. I just think for transparency's sake, that would be good to publish that out there. So again, the taxpayers are aware that is the case.
Sure.
That's it. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Blaine.
Thanks, Blaine. All right, that wraps up public
Carly.
expression.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
So I want to respond to, again, we haven't normally responded to public comment.
We typically do not, but
So, yeah, typically do not. But I just want to say, I'm the newest person up here. Obviously, I don't have a background with the things that, specifically with Ms. Tipton may be affecting that. So I'm not going to offer an opinion up here publicly. I just want to make sure to communicate what I hear communicated, because I want to make sure to understand is that there is an expression that her child has been impacted by something that happened. And as I'm understanding the situation, between her and her care provider and her daughter, she's been, negatively impacted, and wants to make sure that we understand. Again, I'm brand new to it, so I'm not adding any kind of details or trying to speak to something I don't know about, right? But I just want to make sure that we can hear that, and then at the same time, just understand that impact and see what we can do to really, just make sure we're understanding any impact that we do, or anything that we do, any impact that we make, it has real impact. So I just want to make sure, just to say that, since we're interacting publicly with public expression, I want to say that I feel that burden to say that. Again, I'm not imposing any kind of judgment on the situation or anything like that, but just want to say that too.
thank you, Dominic. Next up, we have information items.
First, you have in your packet preschool report. And there are attachments in there for you to review for preschool. You can see there are 4 reports in for preschool. September reports coming in, monthly attendance, enrollment history, projected enrollment, and then a 4th one. Second report is going to be our energy report, and that is coming from our energy report for the month of September. And then our third is going to be the ORR report. That's just going to be the master report that we collect as we go.
We'll take that under advisement. And next, we need to go into executive session.
At this time, I need a motion to go into executive session pursuant to KRS 61.8101B, C, F through B. Deliberations on the future acquisition or sale of real property by a public agency, but only when publicity would be likely to affect the value of a specific piece of property to be acquired for public use or sold by a public agency. C, discussions of proposed pending litigation against or behalf the public agency, and discussions or hearings which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee, member, or student. This exception shall not be interpreted to permit discussion of general personnel matters in secret.
Can I get a motion to go into executive session? Made by Mr. Cedillo, seconded by Ms. Sheffer. All those in favor? And that's 4-0.